if you were to break down the most corrupt families that we've seen in politics, both sides, over the last, 40, 50, 60 years, who would you put on that list?
Great question. I would say that probably at the top of the list, in terms of breadth and scope, would be the Biden family. And I don't say that.
Clinton.
Yes, I would say the Biden family. And the reason I would say that is the size and the scope. In the case of Bill and Hillary Clinton, they ran a very successful corruption racket. Whether it's legal or not is obviously open to debate. But it essentially involved the two of them, and they were tag teams. So Bill Clinton is president of the United States. His wife is first lady. He leaves. She becomes a senator. He's a private citizen. But it essentially becomes, if you want some benefit from Senator Hillary Clinton, pay Bill Clinton and benefits will flow your way. When she becomes Secretary of State, you pay Bill Clinton inflated speaking fees, you give him other benefits, and at the end of the day, the Clintons enriched themselves. The Clinton Foundation was corrupt. The speaking fees were corrupt. No question about it. But what you have with the Bidens is really unique in terms of the scope and the breadth. What do I mean? In terms of breadth, people know about Hunter Biden. A lot of people do. They've heard about Hunter Biden. They may have even heard of James Biden. But as I point out in my book, there are actually 5 members of the Biden family. I call them the Biden Five, who I argue engaged in corrupt behavior. Some of it legal, some of it probably questionable. But the point is 5 members of the family have enriched themselves. And they've been very blatant about it. If you look at Hunter Biden's career, even when his father was a senator, he was a lobbyist working for Delaware entities looking for federal grants. Well, where would Delaware entities go to look for federal grants? They would go to Hunter Biden's father. They hire Hunter Biden to do that job. He's a lobbyist in other respects. When it becomes clear that you have to disclose the fact that you're introducing earmarked legislation for the benefit of a family member who's a lobbyist, Hunter Biden is forced to switch positions and do something else. When his father becomes vice president of the United States, he becomes involved in corruption on a global scale. And this is where I talk about the breadth and the depth. And what I mean here is the depth of corruption. The corruption involving the Biden family, it's not akin to a nephew of a congressman who's trying to get a road paving contract, so he can make an extra buck. The corruption we're talking about with the Bidens involves foreign governments. It involves foreign governments, specifically the Chinese government, which is our chief rival on the global stage. It involves corrupt oligarchs in Ukraine. So that is hard to beat as far as I'm concerned. So I would put the Bidens at the top of the list. I would probably put the Clintons second. There was a Republican senator who has had 3 members of his family who has been lobbyists. I would put them near the top of the list. The name is escaping me right now. He's still in office, a senator from Missouri. I don't know why the name is escaping me. I would put him on the list. I wrote about him in my book on extortion. He would be number 3 on the list. And then I would probably put Mitch McConnell and Elaine Chao on that list as well for their ties to the government of China. In their case, it's not quite as bad, I think, as the Bidens, because in her case, her family actually did have a shipping company before she married Mitch McConnell, before he arose in power as a U.S. senator. But there's no question that they have benefited from the largesse of the Chinese government, and that is as a result of the fact that he has softened his position on China over the years, as Elaine Chao has as well.